Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
What's up guys, unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and in this video we are going to be talking about and discussing what is Project NECROMANCER, as seen and heard of in The Bad Batch, both Season 2 and within Season 3 most recently. Season 3 giving us some new reveals and some new connections, also talked about and discussed in The Mandalorian Season 3 most recently as well. What exactly is Project NECROMANCER? Why is it important? And what does it mean exactly? It's exactly what we're going to be discussing and covering in today's video and explaining for you guys right now. Before we do though, however, grab that subscribe button if you haven't already, as we're discussing and covering all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into any of that, go ahead and grab that subscribe button today. Move over, Skywalkers. Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 3 has just revealed Star Wars' other linchpin, which is Project NECROMANCER. The third and final season of The Bad Batch on Disney Plus has begun streaming on February 21st, with its meaty 3-episode premiere, and has delved quite deep into the newfound Empire's cloning experiments on Mount Tantus. But exactly, more specifically, what are these cloning experiments and what are they for? Episode 3 of the animated show has dropped a particularly huge clone secret that have connections to the sequel trilogy and also The Mandalorian, as I had mentioned, of Season 3 of course. Star Wars The Bad Batch's show may be about what actually happens to the clones amidst the rise of the Empire and after the events of the Clone Wars, but it's also about the Empire's use of the clones and technology to set the stage for Palpatine's resurrection and return that we see way down the road in the sequel trilogy with The Rise of Skywalker. Episode 3 of The Bad Batch Season 3 has fully showcased this reality when Emperor Palpatine himself has arrived on Mount Tantus to inspect Dr. Royce Hemlock's progress. While there, Palpatine refers to the Doctor's ongoing cloning experimentation as Project NECROMANCER, saying that there is nothing of a greater importance to secure the future of this empire. This is a direct, clear-cut reference to Palpatine's plan to return in the sequel trilogy, way down the road, nearly 30 plus years. Specifically in The Rise of Skywalker. This also isn't the first time that Star Wars has mentioned Project NECROMANCER as well, as I had mentioned. This cloning initiative was first referenced all the way back in The Mandalorian Season 3, during a meeting of the Shadow Council where Thrawn's return is also discussed amongst Imperial Remnant leaders, Moff Gideon, and the return of the Empire and Thrawn as well. They also go on to mention what this project exactly is. The fact that The Mandalorian's Shadow Council and also The Bad Batch have occurred 30 years apart within its canon timeline really goes to show onto just how connective the Disney and Star Wars are really trying to go with this here, and seeing how the Emperor's plan is really begin to unfold here throughout the decades, leading us to the ultimate line in the Rise of Skywalker movie of somehow Palpatine has returned. It is also confirmation that the Mandalorians Dr. Pershing and Emery Carr definitely have sported the same insignia for a reason. They look very similar, so there may be something going on with that for one, but they also wear the same symbols on their torsos, on their jackets, it looks like. So while this might be a bit of an explanation of kind of the history of Project NECROMANCER, what exactly is Project NECROMANCER and why is it important? So of course, as I had mentioned, it's been something that's been reoccurring throughout more newer Star Wars projects, of course, given after the matter of The Rise of Skywalker, of really how Lucasfilm is trying to fill in those gaps, leading us up to the events of how that infamous line of somehow Palpatine has returned came to be. According to The Bad Batch, Project NECROMANCER is an effort to create a clone with the same M count or midichlorian count and degree of force sensitivity as its clone template, and it seems that Omega is the perfect result for that, resulting in her genetic makeup, confirming that the character of Omega has a high enough M count or midichlorian count, and that she would indeed actually be force sensitive. This was revealed at the end of Episode 3, Season 3 of The Bad Batch finally, but they haven't really discussed all that more on it, but I think that there is that confirmation. I'll have a whole nother video on the channel here discussing that in more detail and in more depth. Episode 3's conclusion had showed that the enchantments that Nala Se had made to Omega's genetic makeup has allowed for a successful M-count transfer, that they're able to use midichlorians on her, more specifically, as Nala Se is the designer of these defective clones of the Bad Batch, Hunter, Wrecker, Crosshair, Tech, and how they all kind of came to be with their unique genetic makeups. Therefore, she's likely key to accomplishing Project NECROMANCER's goals, and ultimately allowing Palpatine to be cloned with his full force capabilities, as we see later in the sequel trilogy with The Rise of Skywalker. What's also interesting is that the Mandalorian's Dr. Pershing has said the same about Grogu, Baby Yoda, which is why Moff Gideon has captured him and is on the hunt for him, proving that fans have suspected about the series' cloning plot was correct as well. In a weird way, the Mandalorian and the Bad Batch follow a more similar kind of routine than I think that we initially thought it was. And so, as of for whether the Mandalorian Season 4 and or the Mandalorian and Grogu movie will revisit this plot point is a bit unknown. I think that it definitely will and should, given the ending of the Mandalorian Season 3 was a bit everywhere into the regards of explaining Project NECROMANCER. Like, all of a sudden there's clones of Moff Gideon, and then all of a sudden Moff Gideon's dying again, it seems like, and all of those clones are being destroyed. How did those Moff Gideon clones come to be? Is Moff Gideon force sensitive? What's the whole deal with everything going on with that is something that still needs to be explained in The Mandalorian, but that's a part of The Mandalorian. As for whether the Empire can recapture Omega and use her blood is something else that we'll have to see unfold by the end of the Bad Batch's show. And guessing that they're going after Grogu now throughout the Mandalorian timeline, it seems that they aren't maybe as successful with Omega in the Bad Batch. But what fans do know is that Project NECROMANCER is this much-needed connective tissue between prequel trilogy cloning and The Bad Batch, The Mandalorian's ongoing story, and up until the events of The Rise of Skywalker and the sequel trilogy. What's equally intriguing is the fact that Omega doesn't just share a connection to Grogu, but may be partially responsible for Rey Palpatine as well. This here all being said, guys, let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.